and welcome to B Movie Euphoria's VHS Roulette, Volume 4, Ripper Man, starring Mike Norris. Now, many of you probably know the name Chuck Norris because, he was Walker, Texas Ranger. He was Top Dog. He's also Mike Norris's dad. Mike Norris is a hypnotist in a shitty nightclub, and his whole act is kind of centered around finding your past self and making you act out who you used to be or what you used to be. He makes one woman remember that she was a stripper, and she basically takes off all of her clothes. And I'm pretty sure you'd get sued for that. He does this in the nightclub, but he's probably the least engaging, least charming hypnotist I've ever seen.
It is now time for you to travel into the ages, back to your past. Tell us who you were beyond the grave.
I don't think I'm hypnotized.
What a fake!
I don't think Mike Norris took a lot of acting classes. I think that this is a case of he kind of got a couple movies because his dad was Chuck Norris. And I hate to be mean to the guy, but he sucks!
I learned hypnosis while I was a deputy with the San Diego Sheriff's Department. I used hypnosis to help witnesses remember clues.
Yeah, and they fired your ass.
He's got a little bit of fighting skills, as I would hope, because he's Chuck Norris's son, but he doesn't really use them. There's a scene here and there where he kicks and fights a little bit, but not really. So there's a waitress at his work that likes him. I don't understand why, but, maybe if you're in a small town, your options are pretty limited.
I'm Gina. I'm new. Nice to meet you.
Mike Lazo. Amused.
She hits on him a lot and basically just invites him over to her place, and he's just an asshole to her. I didn't ask for this beer. Why are you giving it to me for free? Total dipwad. At the end of one of his shows, he's approached by this very well-dressed, long-haired guy who wants to be hypnotized, but privately, because he wants Mike to tell him who he really is, even though he knows who he really is. And so Mike's like, well, why do you need me to tell you what you already think you are? He's like, well, I need to know for certain. I must know. So he does it for him because this guy's not creepy at all. So Mike's hypnotism method when he's not on stage is very simple. He just lights a candle and puts it in between them. And it leads me to believe that I could probably just hypnotize anyone just by saying words slowly and putting a candle in front of them, which kind of worries me. Like, how many times have I been hypnotized when someone just brought out a candle and started saying shit? That freaks me out. So he starts talking to Charles and bringing out George. I'm George Chapman, who was supposedly one of the main suspects for Jack the Ripper. While he's under hypnosis, he starts going like this, and it all looks like he's taking the biggest shit of his life. He does this a couple times. Mike hypnotizes this sleazy Charles guy a couple of times, and every single time he looks like he's taking a monstrous shit.
Charles? Charles?
He's under hypnosis. He's now George instead of Charles. And he goes around Mike's apartment and picks up a little girl doll and licks it like a fucking freak, and then puts it on a table and takes out a razor and starts slashing it open and pulling out its fluffy gut. makes him snap out of it and makes him come back to being Charles. But it's pretty obvious that this guy is just, he's a nutcase, and he wants to pretend like he's Jack the Ripper, and he wants to be validated with his craziness. The waitress shows up, and Charles kind of slithers out of there. The only scary thing in this movie is when a girl is walking home by herself, snorting coke. She hears something, and she looks up, and she sees Ripper Man staring at her from up on a bell tower, just staring at her. And then she starts running, and then he's on a roof, and he's just chasing her, jumping from roof to roof, chasing after her like Batman. Or like Dracula. He seems a lot like he's supposed to be a vampire in this movie. So he chases after this woman, and she's screaming, and she finally gets away. She runs up to a cop, and he's like, "Oh, let me get you on the next bus." Is that what cops do? They just kind of direct you to the next bus station? Because I'm pretty sure she just yelled and screamed, help me, there's someone after me." And the cop is just like, "Oh, here, let me get you on the bus." What do you think? Do you think that criminals don't ride the bus? More murders happen. No one believes Mike, that he thinks this guy is the new Ripper that's out there cutting people's intestines out and uteruses.
Reincarnated killer. What the hell am I gonna do with that?
This isn't a beginner's crime. Start checking his name and description against prior sexual offenders. Child molestation, an assault, rape. Or didn't they teach you this in cop school?
Hey, asshole. I'll tell you what they taught me at cop school.
I pushed myself really hard to make it through Ripper Man, because even with the whole concept of the Ripper coming back from the dead and, you know, inhabiting this guy's body, it's never really believable. And you never for a second think that this could be possible, because the actor isn't really selling it. Every time the Ripper talks, you want him to stop, because it's not scary. It's not even creepy. It's just crap.
How does George hurt women?
And the very end of the movie, when Mike Norris and Ripper Man have the confrontation, he starts talking about how he's as powerful as God. He's like, "I am God." And Mike Norris goes, "You're evil. You're not God." And there's a lot of God talk at the end. It suddenly becomes a religious movie at the very end.
I told you, Michael! God is on my side! The devil's on your side. Only fools believe in a devil. There's no counterpart to God! God is all-powerful!
Even though religion or anything about God was never mentioned throughout the entire movie, and then at the end, the Ripper Man's super into Christ because he has all these crucifixes in his lair in this abandoned insane asylum. The waitress is a terrible actress. The Ripper Man is really over the top, cheesy, not scary at all, just laughable. But he's not as bad as Mike. Everyone else, Buck Flowers in this movie as one of the hecklers, who actually, finds Mike after work and starts beating the shit out of him, and it's a great scene. I love that. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, God. I can't even come up with anything good about this. I can't think of one decent thing about this movie other than I liked the beginning logo. Thank you for watching B-Movie Euphoria's video garbage volume shit.
It was special ceremony, the San Diego County Sheriff pinned a badge on Deputy Michael Lazo. The former deputy was reinstated after demonstrating selfless heroism in stopping the Old Town slasher.